Pastor, you got anything to say up front?
No, I'm ready to get started.
All right, then. We've been talking about, good evening, everybody. We are in the midst of, good evening, we're in the midst of renewing this knowledge of who we are. And we're doing it from the framework of the 10 sayings, the 10 utterances. And if you remember, we talked about belief in the one supreme being. And we talked about having no other Elohims besides it. And the fact that we are Elohim too. So we don't need any representation of what we already represent, which is the manifestation of Elohim in this realm. So belief in one true supreme being, and not worshiping or submitting or to any other gods, and not making any images, et cetera, et cetera. And all of this has to do with what's in our hearts and what's in our what's in our thoughts. And it's got to be what we feel to be true. It's got to vibrate with what we believe we know in our inmost being as truth. Then we're told again not to take the Lord's name in vain, God's name in vain. That's related to speech. It's what we say. In other words, our thoughts have to align with our speech, which has to align with our actions. We've been talking most recently about keeping the Sabbath, and that's an action. That's what we do. In other words, we work and then we cease. We work and then we cease. It's a balance. And so everything we've been talking about is what are the aspects of this spiritual being that we are. So that's what we've been talking about so far. Let's see if there are any questions about that or about anything.
Papa, this is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
What do the rest mean, and what do you do in that rest?
Okay, the rest means it's like ceasing. If you've been doing something, to cease. In other words, there's a break between the aspects of your work activity and not working. But that rest has nothing to do with just leisure, although it is leisure as well, because we are beings. We are spiritual beings manifested in flesh. So that it does not say that we cannot have leisure activities, that we cannot enjoy family, that we cannot do this or that. It just means then that we recognize and attend to that principle that we don't work and work and work and work and get out of balance. The out of balance, and you remember, balance has nothing to do with equality. It doesn't mean you work 2.5 days and then you rest 2.5. It has nothing to do with equality. So the principle that was given to us through the commandments was you work for 6 days. You know, whatever business you have to attend to, all the things you have to do, which helps you take care of your family, helps you pay your bill, whatever. You do that. And then for a specific period of time, you cease from doing that. And in the ceasing from doing that, it allows you to just reflect, to not think about all the stuff you put on hold, all the guidelines, all the meetings, all the commitments, all of that stuff, all the bill payers and all the creditors, although they do call you when you're trying to rest nowadays. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But this period of rest, Charles, has to do with being intentional about reconnecting with the source of who created you, the source who created you, And then in that connection, understanding that you are one with that source. That it's a way to allow you to I guess get powered up again in a sense. And I don't mean that in terms of powered up in terms of I'm ready to go back to work now, but powered up in terms of reminding us who we are. We take that period of rest, that ceasing, to do the inner look-see, and ask ourselves the question: how's my life? How are things going? It's a sort of like an assessment. Am I balanced? Am I connected to my Creator? Am I balancing everything in my life so that I am being compassionate when I need to be compassionate? Am I giving when I need to be giving? Am I receiving from others, whatever that receipt is, when I need to do that as well? And so that rest is that kind of rest. Does anybody else have another comment to add to that? So this allows us to get some balance, to stay balanced, if you will, because sometimes. Go ahead, Charles.
Hello, everyone.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. Go ahead.
Good evening. Oh, not a problem at all. I just wanted to reiterate that it was not necessarily rest as it relates to getting energy, so to speak, or when we think about it, like I'm tired, I need to go to sleep, etc. Like you said, is the idea of I think you said reflect and reflection and staying grounded. And you would think about, when we think about the word rest just means in some cases just stop action. Just take a moment and pause. Take evaluation, etc. Definitely in all of that, as I just mentioned, the idea of giving thanks and being thankful. We think about how it is now or how it transitions when, for example, giving grace for your food, and you just take a moment of pause, and before even eating the food, actually feeling the thankfulness and the gratitude in your heart that you have the food to nourish your body, etc. That also is rest. So yeah, I'm finished.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments, additional comments or thoughts?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The principle that Sheldon talked about with the food and praying over it is actually giving thanks to the plants as well and the animals who give their life for our lives to be sustained. Also, the pause or the ceasing is about our understanding these principles that we are being taught now. The idea of what is an image, so that what is idol, so we don't do those things, so we can purge ourselves of anything that is not in line with these principles. Out of everything in the scriptures, when we cease, these 10 principles, these 10 utterances are the most important thing that we reflect on, because without this personality, because that's what these 10 utterances are doing, forming the personality of Elohim. Without this personality, we cannot be functional as Elohim. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Since Charles brought this up, let me talk a little bit about rest, just a little bit more. What the sayings show us is how to balance ourselves, how to balance who we are. Just like when we talked about the tree of life, there were 2 pillars and a central pillar, and what we have to do is learn to balance between those attributes, that's what the sayings are. We balance the first ones with the second one. But the beauty of it is that if we once we understand truly the first ones, the second ones we don't even really have to worry about, because we are so connected, and we understand that we're one with the Creator, and that we represent the Creator in this realm, and we're so connected with. We have no lack because we are one with the Creator. When we have no lack is the root of so many things. If you look at the rest of those commandments or those sayings, Numbers 6 through 10, everything is rooted in a perceived lack, if you will. So once we understand that we have no lack and get that in our being as part of our essence, then the other sayings are simply going to be there just to remind us, oh, okay, when I do my introspection, what have I done today? No, I have not slandered anybody today, so that means I have not murdered them. Because to slander somebody is to murder them. To slander their character is to murder them. But again, we're going to get into the rest of those anyway. But what I'm saying is, when we know about those first 5, and even the honor your mother and your father, although it seems like it should be on the other side, because it's talking about my physical mom and dad, apparently. But it is not. If we are all divine, and we are, our parents are divine, our parents are a physical manifestation, if you will, of the mother and father, the feminine and masculine energy from the spiritual perspective is still all connected. And so the honoring of the mother and father is simply a transition that speaks to the spiritual as well as the physical. And so that's why it's on the tablet with all of the sayings that relate to our relationship with Elohim. So let me stop there and make sure I haven't lost anybody. Any other questions about what you've been thinking about relative to remembering the Sabbath and keeping it holy? And I use the keep too, because in Deuteronomy, I think it's the 5th chapter, when Moses reiterated all of these sayings, he added the word observe. Remember the Sabbath, observe the Sabbath to keep it holy. And at Mount Sinai, what they heard was, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. So, go ahead, Pastor.
I want to speak to the last part of that.
Okay.
Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Keep it holy. What does that mean? Because we have really damaged the true meaning of what holy is. We have set aside in articles like the communion table, the pulpit, the cross, the baptismal pool. All of these things have been set aside as being holy. We have damaged the understanding of that tremendously. Keep it holy means to set it aside or set it apart from everything else, because it's sacred. It's there. It's to set it apart from everything else in order for us not to do what we have done to that word, and that is blemish it or confuse people about what it means when we attach it to a building or any structure or anything that's made by the hands of men. So the only thing that he's saying here is, when he says keep it holy, is that during your reflections, make sure that they are on the right things. They are in line with these principles. I'm done, unless there are questions about that.
Any questions?
You say when your reflections, explain that.
We are talking about the 10 utterances, and we talked about idolatry and how our thoughts can be idolatry as well. We talked about how having no other God in the presence of our God, of Elohim. We talked about that in regards to making sure that the God that the church has created is not the one that we submit to. We are submitting to the one who created us. And that submission has nothing to do with bowing as much as it has to do submitting to the personality, the character that we are. So I guess I answered your question. If I didn't, ask it again.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would that someone else would elaborate on that, because I feel like I did not do justice to those two in terms of idolatry and no other God. I'd appreciate it.
Well,
Anybody
now
else?
the music have become another God, because they feel that they haven't had the music in church, that they haven't had church.
That's not a God. That's idolatry.
I mean, yeah, idolatry.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's getting worse instead of getting better.
And what does that music do? It makes us feel good. It makes us move. And we think when we are feeling good and we're moving, we got the spirit. And what we are learning is the spiritual human abides by the templates of the sayings. I can feel good and I can move, but do I understand that there's a supreme being who created me, created the world? Do I understand that there's only one, that it is infinite and it has no lack? It is limitless. It is anything, any adjective you use, it's limitless, meaning it has no boundaries. Do I understand that as I'm moving and I'm feeling good? Do I understand that there is nothing that can take the place of that now that I know that? And do I understand that that very being, and I can't even call it that is, that was, and that will be, that supreme creator gave me its essence, made me, you, every human, its essence. It gave us its essence. I mean, it's just so awesome that when we think about it and put it in those perspectives, I love music. I love listening to music, and I can truthfully say that it feeds my spirit. It can feed my spirit. But you're right, Mary. When we understand what it's really speaking to, then we understand that not every kind of music will do that, even if we call it religious. When you have the same thing going over and over again, I mean, it doesn't. All of that doesn't necessarily speak to me like it once would. Other comments, and Mary, I don't know, Pat, how are you married with what Pastor said and what you said about? I'm sorry, Kathy.
Oh,
But anyway, what I wanted to speak to is this. At the juncture where we are in building the personality of Elohim, understanding why we are in the reason we are in the earth, our focus must shift. And the shifting of our focus must be on understanding, embracing who we are by virtue of these utterances, and not focusing on the church. And what I'm saying is this, whatever we focus on, that's what we're giving energy to. Energy flows as your attention goes. That's what we're giving energy to. If we are not giving energy to it, it will die. And I'm saying that, yes, the church is going to get worse. Why? The reason it's going to get worse in its manipulation is because everything else gets worse when it is in the throes of death, when it is when people are falling away from it. Like the government got worse. Politics is worse. Everything is worse because we desire change, and change does not come overnight, because those who are the targets of change will do everything to maintain their power over the people that they pastor, that they manipulate, because they're not pastoring them, they're manipulating them. And that is something we have to be cognizant of. It's something else I want to say, but I won't say it right now. I want to see if that's clear.
yes.
Okay. So we shift our focus away from that, from the church, and shift it to what we are focusing on in terms of being who we are. And speaking of the church, I simply want to say this, that I believe that the reason the evangelical, the Caucasian churches are being weakened is because there are so many people walking away from it. Why are they walking away from it? The life of the Caucasian church, the energy in it, is the African. Because the African church is focused on, its energy is focused on what the Caucasian church has told them God is and what the scriptures mean, not even looking at the truth about even those who wrote the commentaries are racist, and they wrote racist things in those commentaries. Of course, some have been deleted now. So the bottom line is this: the Caucasian church cannot exist without the energy from the African church. If everything started in Africa and the spirituality of the African feeds into anything that thinks is spiritual, and that focus on the principles that the Caucasian church has forced upon us, as long as we follow those principles, that church will be strong. And if you look at what has happened in the last 5-10 years, it started actually 20 years ago, but the last 5 or 10 years, we have talked about how young people has walked away from our churches as Africans, the black church, if you will. And if you look at that parallel, or in contrast rather, to what happened in the evangelical church, they began to fall apart as well. And the place where they started falling apart was first with their youth, and secondly with their leadership. So the pillars of that is falling as the energy disappears that's being fed into it by the antics of church. I'm done.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? My question right now is then, even though we've not talked about the second tablet, do you understand what I mean when I say everything is about balance? And when we understand who we are as it relates to the description of the Elohim on the first tablet, we can balance our lives and our physical and spiritual lives even, such that we will never get to the density, the depravity of sinfulness that the other commands speak to. Do you see that? Yes, no.
Can you repeat what you just said, Barbara?
When you look at the first 5 sayings, and they are our relationship to the one who created us, in whose image we are made, and we understand that, we know that, without a doubt, without the shadow of a doubt. And then you look at the other 5 that starts with don't murder, don't commit adultery, those other ones. Do you see how knowing who you are in the first 5, that it's the template for who we really are. That's what the first 5 are showing us. That's who we really are. That's our essence. And once we know our essence, do you see how it's kind of difficult to do the last 5 if you truly know who you are? And so my question is, can you see that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments about that? Okay.
Good evening, Barbara.
Yes, sir.
This is George in Philly. And what you're saying in terms of how I'm receiving it in the spirit, you spoke about introspection, which basically, deals with the first 5 utterances in terms of our self-awareness of who we are. And as you speak about the second 5 utterances in terms of introspection, in terms of dealing, with others in the social aspect of our relationships, the words that I'm hearing, in terms of going back to our origin or going back to the beginning, talks about some of the words that you've mentioned in the spiritual realm. When you talk about truth, when you speak about balance, when you speak about order and arrangement, when you talk about righteousness, when you speak about reciprocity, these are all inner spiritual strengths that the Creator, that we're blessed with. And I believe that in the words that you're speaking, or even as Pastor mentioned in terms of going back and looking at where it all started in Africa, these are the principles, of the utterances that we're now receiving in a much deeper and meaningful way. So it's the creative words that you're speaking, the creative words that we're hearing. And so I'm just receiving it in a way that that's the essence of who we are when we look at it from the introspection and then the introspection. So that's how, I'm hearing it, but those words are powerful because, as you say, we are the power, we are the energy. And so I just wanted to share those thoughts because as I hear the words that you're speaking, it resonates with me in terms of who I am. I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? I was reading something the other day. I was reading something, the inner meaning of the Hebrew letters, and one of the things that caught my attention was this thing about, when a winemaker makes wine, the wine is the essence, it's the spiritual essence of the grape. I mean, the grape is nice. Grape tastes good. Grape is a grapefruit. Grape is delicious. But the wine is the spiritual essence of that grape. It's been pressed. It's been stomped on. I don't know if there's, probably in some parts of Italy, they're still doing that thing where they stomp on the grapes. I'm sure there are others who've mechanized it, but in other words, it's what comes out of that grape. That's its essence. When we talk about our essence in this physical reality, we are the essence of Elohim. And when we understand both our spiritual, when we know the spiritual realm and we know the physical realm, and we're able to balance that, we are then able to manifest Elohim in this realm, in what we say, what we think, say, or do. In other words, everything that we do then is screened through this essence that we are of Elohim. And when it's screened through that essence, we can balance the anger that we hear, as Evelyn often talks about. Sometimes, people just have bad attitudes when you're talking about. We can balance that with compassion so that we don't come across and respond in the same way. We respond from our essence of love, which covers a multitude of transgressions, a multitude of disentanglements. Of entanglements. We respond from that loving, merciful part of who we are. That essence that, apart from being one with the Creator, we don't have that. We don't have that essence. Even if we try to do it on our own, there are a lot of people who are good philanthropists, meaning they give. But if they don't know who they are, but that they get their good feeling about who they are in terms of how much they give, that's still not good enough. So it's this essence that's better than I don't know how to say it. It's the sap of who we are. And when we do this, when we can manifest Elohim in the earth, this is what I'm getting at. When we can do this, the world is able to suckle the divine goodness. We nurse the world. And I know that puts an image in your mind, but that's okay. Nourishment is what we're talking about. And there's a Jewish saying that, as much as the calf wants to suck, the cow wants to be suckled. In other words, when we function from the Elohim that we are, all we want to do is to be a manifestation of the Elohim. We want to do things because it's the right thing to do. We want to do things when it's right, when we listen to our inner voice that says, not yet. But 2 weeks down the road, we can say the same thing that 2 weeks earlier we were told, it's not time, it's not yet, it's not yet. And the issue is 2 weeks later, whatever is happening, that individual person is ready to receive what we have to say then. Whereas if we've done it and we hadn't listened to our inner voice, our inner spirit, it would have been unripe, and it would not have had the effect that it should have had. What we want is that effect of whatever we're doing, whatever we're giving, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're saying, whatever actions we're taking, we want those to be ripe for now, so that the whole world gets nourishment from it. They get whatever they need, when they need it, as they need it. Just as much as the calf wants to suck, the cow wants to be suckled. That principle of I want to give, and when I want to give, somebody is there to receive. Which means then that creates more space in me to give, or whatever the issue is. It creates more space so that I can do it again and again and again. And I don't get tired in and of myself, because it's not me. It's pulling directly from the Creator, who is the filler upper, who is the beneficent one, who provides what I need in order to benefit someone else. And so it's like a funnel that's unclogged, that the essence flows in and it flows out wherever it's needed. Then when I start getting kind of constipated, I know I got to check myself. Wow, something's not right here. My brother Tally used to say the ball's always in your court. Well, the balls are always in our court. The ball's always in my court. I am the one who has to decide, okay, what do I do with this? Where am I sending it and why? What's preventing me from being able to do what I need to do as I need to do it? I know we're talking about the sayings, and I know that we were talking most recently about remembering the Sabbath and ceasing and activity. But all of this is about balance. All of this is about balancing the attributes that have been given to us, so that we can function as the Elohim in this realm. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just talking. Yes.
Well, Barbara, I just want to, this is Evelyn.
Yes, ma'am.
I know everything that we've talked about is true. And even what's on the pages with the 10 Commandments, all those things, I know they're true. But for some reason, I don't know if because the preacher's religion used the 10 Commandments to manipulate us or whatever, but for some reason, I'm not feeling it. God, okay. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not feeling it, although I know it's true. And my thirst, I talk to the Creator and I tell it, I say, you know what? I know I'm one with you, and I want to feel you. I want to know, that I just want to experience what you're saying. But everything on those pages I'm not feeling it. And again, like I said, it could be because those commandments were told to us to manipulate us, to make us feel guilty, to do all those things that are not right. And
then what
I'm just being honest with you. It's not. I'm not feeling it.
Let me share an experience with her.
Okay.
When I first began to leave the church and its teachings, I wanted to experience something. And I, at that time, was lying on my face in my den in the middle of the night, crying out. I wanted to have the experiences that others had because I wanted to know that what I believe is real. And this is what was spoken to me. You will believe and not experience it. You will know without the experience. Your knowing is your experience. And from that point forward, a lot of things that I taught up until recently, I didn't feel it, but I knew it was true. It made it difficult because the church is not that the church has taught us the commandments, but the church has taught us if you believe what the Bible says, you feel it. And you don't necessarily feel it. You believe it and leave it alone. And that's what I had to do as I grew. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't struggle with it because I did. However, now I don't. And it takes time. And you will get to a place where you realize that the knowing without the feeling, the guidance without the feeling is the experience. You are a different person because of what you believe. That's the experience. And you don't have to feel it. Does that help you, Evelyn?
Yes.
You really don't?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I Pastor, I want to just add a little bit to what you said because I think it was Kathy talked about the songs and blah blah blah, and it's the emotions that we've gotten all tangled up with in the church, and I think that's what Evelyn is coming from, that have led us to this false perception of what it means to really truly know that we're one with the Creator. And so if you feel that emotion and it's getting in your way, just take it from a fresh perspective and just take it one thing at a time. I'm going to say this. I'm going to put this out there. Why would you talk to the Creator unless you believed the Creator was created you? Why would? Because I heard you say, I talked to him and I said I want to. Why? Ask yourself that question. Just start fresh. Get rid. Just tell him. Tell it that you don't want the baggage. You don't want all that other stuff that you learned and that got poured into you by other things and and poured into you by religion. Start with what you know, and what you know is what you just showed that you knew. When you said that you talked to the Creator, that told me that you believed that was your Creator, that is your Creator, and that there is none other like it. Start there, and then work your way through these sayings. So if you believe that, then next question, can anything take its place? Just ask yourself those personal, and it's not just Evelyn we're talking to right now, it's everybody. We have to ask ourselves these personal questions, and when we can't really say yes, we know we still have that work to do. that spiritual work to do, because until we understand and get this in our being, somewhere down the line, we're going to really have to deal with the other five in a way that we don't want to. So if you take it one step at a time, the Most High will be one step at a time with you. And as Pastor understand, there are not necessarily emotions tied into it. There usually aren't any emotions tied into it. Put it that way.
And Barbara, that has been our problem. Emotions getting. That's why music again is in the church, to make you feel this certain way, like when it comes to offering and going to the altar, certain songs. And Kathy brought up, earlier, and I'm not going to harp on that, but I'm saying we so used to feel in a certain way when we approach the Creator. And so that's why, and since we're talking this out, and you and Pastor said what you said, that's why there are times when I don't feel like, that the Ten Commandments and all others are just resonating with me at times. So I got it.
Just be.
Evelyn?
Don't feel. Just be.
Evelyn, I hear where you're coming from, because for me, it kind of worked in the reverse, because I would watch people growing up, and as a teenager, I would watch people, like fall out and fall on the floor and all kind of stuff. And I said, that's not happening to me. So I kind of went the other way. So the other way of not wanting to feel anything, especially not that's going to make me fall out on the floor or whatever. But I got to a point where I realized I didn't have to be any extreme as long as I felt that I knew what I knew. I got to the point where I decided, as long as I know what I know, I don't have to feel one way or the other, as long as I'm sure that I know what I know. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Evelyn, thank you for bringing that up, because we're going to stay here as long as we need to address any questions that relate to this, because this is the essence that we're talking about. And that essence is not necessarily what you're going to feel. It's going to be what you be. And we'll talk it through till we be that, because this is foundational for everything. Other comments, other perspectives, if you will, please share.
Hey, Barbara, this is Charles again. Now,
Yes,
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there, and I hope Rev and everybody can straighten it up. It's just like the Holies of Holies, and we couldn't go to the Holies of Holies because of the veil. And it seemed like to me the pastor's still trying to keep that veil there, and Jesus have torn the veil so we can go into God ourselves and sense his presence and understand his presence. But the pastor is keeping that veil there, putting the veil back, so we go so far with the music and all what they're saying ain't getting you nowhere, but all the drums and the music and singing, it just brings it to the invisible curtain again. And you can't sense what you need to sense from the Father until you can like you said, know what the lady said, know what you know will take you through that invisible curtain that they holding up or try to hold up. The sense of presence of whatever God trying to tell you or whatever you need to sense from him to understand. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Charles. And I think that's one of the things that Pastor's sensing when he said to us, I think a day or so ago, that at some point in time, we're going to have to make that decision because things are critical now. And we cannot stay in the shadow of religion on the one hand, one foot in there, and then one foot in the spiritual, because it's going to keep dragging us away. It's only when we know who we are and the essence of who we are truly that all of that stuff will be kept in its own perspective. And I mean, it's going to be a time that we just have to do it. And the world depends on the work that we're doing and what we're putting in the macro right now. It's dependent on it. It needs it as a child needs to suckle. It needs it, and some of us are going to be there to provide it. Others of us who won't. But it will be done. It will be done, and its will be done.
Barbara, this is Mary. I just want to just share something that has helped me. I'm just now learning that I am a human, and I'm learning this, but one thing that has kept me all these years is what's in Corinthians about I'm not moved by what I see or how I feel, but I'm standing as one of God's children, and now I know that I am Elohim, so I'm now standing as that, and because of that, I'm able to see, because what we see is just temporal anyway, and the feelings never shouted in my life, and I prayed to shout. I prayed to speak in tongues like everybody else, but it didn't go that way, but I stood firmly on knowing that I was God's child, and now I know I'm one with the Creator, which is even better. So with that, we know what we need to do at times, but I know what I need to do at times, but I just fight it because I don't want to be uncomfortable. But it's the Creator has made it all where it needs to be, and like you said, once you stand on the Creator, I mean, where are we going to go? The Creator is who we have to turn to, and each other as one. So just stand firm, knowing who we are is really helping. And the commandments that we're talking about right now is helping to seal or firm up that foundation that we are one with the Creator. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing.
Hey, Barbara, this is Ron.
Hey, Ron.
How are you? I think part of what we're seeing here is, for as long as we can remember, since infancy, we've learned to trust our feelings and emotions. And that has always been with us from everybody in our lives that we've loved, whether it be a spouse or a child or a parent. We attach some type of feeling to it, or degree of feelings. But the reason why this is different, this is intuitive. And the reason why it is intuitive is because it's you. It's not an external thing that, like, I look at a spouse or a child and I see someone else. But when I truly see Elohim and the Creator, I see me. It's not a someone else. So it's not the same type of feeling or emotion, because you don't get excited about Ron or what's internal in Barbara or or in Charles. You see yourself and you feel that. The intuitive part, you feel it and you know it's real, but there is no evidence of it to say that this is Elohim other than as you said before, it's just there and you know it. So and we've because of religion tells us that this is external, that you are supposed to feel God or see God, and He's way off there, and when you feel Him, He's near to you. But if it's once you reach that place where you recognize, as someone said, that I am the human, that I am Elohim, you see yourself, and it's not necessarily something that is an external thing that makes you emotional or drives a certain feeling to you. It's just you getting to know yourself, another aspect of self. At least that's kind of how I see it.
Ron, based on what you said, what I see in that is maturity. Because even when, before we knew about Elohim, when we were younger, there were parents who would say, you must be feeling yourself. Or when you began to look at yourself, you didn't wake up and say, I feel like Ron today. You were not trying to be accepted, popular, be the best on the football team or track or whatever. You were just being you after you matured. It just didn't matter anymore. I see that same thing with where we are in terms of the characteristics of Elohim at this point. And like Barbara, I am extremely glad that Evelyn brought that up, because I'm certain that she's not the only one. And I, like you, I've never shouted in my life, Mary, and I never really wanted to. However, I have gone through that feeling stage. And not to prolong the conversation about it, but I do feel like when you get to a place of maturity, when you get to a place, and I'm not talking about you made it there, I'm talking about a place of acceptance. Maybe that's a better word than maturity. When you get to a place of acceptance, you don't feel it. But there are periods when you do, and that's why you cry. Because you're feeling the pain of humanity. You're experiencing that pain. If you experience that pain all the time, and you cried all the time, you would be out of balance. So that's it. Oh, and in addition to that, Barbara made a statement of what I said, I think yesterday, whatever it was. And I stand firmly on that you will be called out from amongst them at some point, because you cannot function as Elohim and be accepted in a place where Elohim is not known. In order to be accepted in those places, you got to go along with the program. And that acceptance of who you are removes you from all of the excitement, from all of the feelings. When I was in Haiti, I went to different settings where people were searching, and there was no gospel music, and they didn't allow it in their church because they said that gospel music had nothing to do with the Creator. Even the beat didn't. It didn't feel right. In other words, it was out of rhythm with what they believed. And those same people of whom I speak are people who live their lives and go through care for each other without having doctors present. They trust what they believe, and they believe what they trust. I'm done.
Thank you. Other comments? We, some of us should feel very uncomfortable right now. I feel uncomfortable in some aspects. In other, and it's a discomfort that I'm going to need to work through myself. But truth does that, doesn't it? It's that two-edged sword. And so whatever the truth is, may it go forth and accomplish that which it is sent to accomplish. What else are we? I wanted to get started with the mother and father and the honoring thereof, but I don't feel the need to move on yet, because the first four we gotta even if we don't understand them yet, even if we don't. You remember the Israelites said, "We hear and we will do," or "We will do." Even before they understood, they said we would do, and that's what we're feeling right now. Some of us are feeling this period of time, this point at which truth is just being revealed and revealed and revealed, and like Ron said, that truth doesn't look the same to us as we once thought we would look to ourselves, and that's part of what we're dealing with too. And so I'm sensing that part of this is that whole experience of the Israelites at Mount Sinai, and the things they were dealing with as they were receiving the information about what these commandments or what these sayings were. So.
Hello, Barbara.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were speaking, on the subject of emotional regulations, and as we, reflect on our emotions in terms of, just what we're receiving tonight, it is said that linguistic, or in terms of language, I know that we're reading, from the utterances of the tablets, but there's something that I'm feeling or I'm receiving in terms of really understanding the linguistics of it. Now, I don't know in totality what that's really saying, but I believe that we are in synchronicity, we in oneness to have a desire for that. So I just wanted to ask the question, is that what we talk about when we talk about esoterically trying to understand it a little bit deeper, not from looking at it from the English translation or the Latin or the Greek, but is there some aspect of the linguistics of this that we need to know or understand? I don't know if that resonates, but I know it's something much more than just us looking at it in terms of literally reading a word, but there's something much more deeper that I think emotionally we're trying to grasp. I know I'm trying to grasp. So I would appreciate, if that can be expounded upon, or is it I'm way off? I'm just trying to understand.
George, I'm since. Go ahead, Shell. Was that you, Shell? I'm sensing this. I'm sensing a discomfort, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, because it's that's going to move us forward, propel us forward. If there were nothing there, if Evelyn wasn't feeling what she was feeling, if I wasn't feeling, if Kathy wasn't feeling what she was feeling, then I would be kind of concerned. But I am not concerned, y'all, even though there is this feeling of I don't know, I'm blanking. But whatever this dissonance is, this feelings, this betwixt and between, it is necessary. It is necessary. And I'm so happy that we're dealing with it tonight. I can't tell you how happy I am that we're dealing with it tonight. And it's probably something I'm going to be working my way through the rest of the week. But it doesn't matter. I've made up my mind. I have decided that I am going to do it the way the Creator created me to do it. I want to function that way. It already put it. Guys, we are made in the image of the Creator, whether we receive it or not, whether we understand it or not, whether we believe it or not. It does not matter what we believe, receive, or understand. That is the truth. And this dissonance that we're feeling, this angst, this, I don't know what else to call it, is a necessary kind of thing, because it's saying to me, once and for all, make a decision. Are you going to be what you are or not? I mean, someone says, is you is or is you ain't? Is you is or is you ain't? Are we going to be what we are created to be or not? That's the question. And I don't know what else to say.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to do it where I was created to do it. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron.
I'm
feeling something here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We at the river. It's not. Let's stop dancing around the truth. It's not whether or not we're going to be Elohim or not. It's whether or not we are going to hold on to the Christianity that we've been taught or let it go. It's whether or not we are going to be church members or Elohim. It's whether or not we are going to embrace the 10 utterances or whether we're going to embrace church doctrine. We are at a place where Joshua will choose this day who you are going to serve. Choose this day. To whom are you going to submit? Are you going to be submissive to what you were created to be, or are you going to play games with it and be submissive to Christianity, the church, Islam, etc. Are you going to walk in the shoes of Jesus, or are you going to walk in the shoes of your pastor? Are you going to fill a pew and be spiritually empty? Let's just face the reality of it. There is no power in the songs that's rendered in church. They do not fit the scriptures at all, which means that the name is being used in vain because they are being sung in honor of a God that you don't know. We are at the tipping point. I said to you the other day, this is a dangerous time for a lot of us on this phone. That's where we are. I am not going to stand here and say that it is okay. It's not okay for us to try to serve two gods or two masters. Because you're going to love one and hate the other. You're going to show affection for one, and you're going to be distant from the other. You cannot be one with Elohim. You cannot be Elohim. You cannot be one with the Supreme Being. You cannot even believe that you're Elohim, and you are able to tolerate the defaming of the name. When the scriptures have clearly told us that using the GD is not profaning the name, is not saying the name in vain. No, that's not it. All the songs that are rendered, all the preaching that's done, all the responses to everything that's done in that church is defaming the name of Elohim. And we have to admit the truth of that. We have to face the truth of that. Because we can no longer live in the shadows of a God that doesn't exist and expect to live in, and expect rather to exist in the arms of the one who created us. There's no way possible. Jesus could not go to the synagogue or the temple and worship there because the truth wasn't there. That is no different than the places where we go, holy ground. The ground that building sits on is not holy. Holy structure, that's not God's building. I've heard people say, I'm taking care of God. That God does not live in that building. That's not God's house. That's not God's property. That's your idol. And we say all kinds of things, making every effort to cover it up or to make it seem okay. It is not okay. Communion is not sacred. If communion is sacred, that means that you have a problem remembering what Jesus taught. Because he said clearly, the only time you need to do this is when you want to remember me, meaning remember what I taught. None of that. The thief on the cross, this day thou shalt be with me in paradise. None of them were baptized. None of that. The only reason Jesus submitted to the baptism of John was because he was fulfilling the law, in that it says that he would be baptized. He will experience mikvah, the washing away of sin in the water. That's the only reason that he submitted to that. Because that was a part of the law. At the tent of the meeting, Aaron and his sons went through what is called washing, but it was mikvah. That was the interest of the priesthood, according to what happened when they came out of the wilderness. So I'm saying to you, I'm sorry, when they were in the wilderness, I'm saying to you guys right now, choose you this day who you're going to follow. Are you going to follow the God on the other side of the river? Or are you going to choose the God on this side of the river? As for me and my household, and I'm not just talking about my physical household, as for me and those who I cover and those who take it seriously, the covering of me, the ones that the Creator has allowed me to cover. As for me and my household, we are going to serve. We're going to submit. We're going to be submissive to Yahweh Elohim on this side of the river. The river is speaking about life. Are you going to return to the life of religion are you going to walk in the spiritual understanding that you are currently receiving? Questions about that? Hello?
Well, I thank you for what you just said.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'm at Mount Sinai, and the utterances are coming down. You know.
The burning bush.
Because it's speaking directly to not only the group of people but to the individual. That's what those utterances do. Are there other comments or questions? If not, that's all that I want to cover tonight, but I'm willing to entertain any other questions or comments. Then I think, having heard Pastor's words, that's a good place for us to transition into our thoughts and meditation, and to be back on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share what you're feeling, and because it puts it in the macro and it helps so many other people. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.